So, we have a new Batman film upon us, and with that comes the inevitable conversation of what is the best Batman film to date. Is it one of the Nolan movies? Is it one of the Burton movies? Or is it the new one? This conversation is brought up every single time a new Spider Man film comes out, and the same also happens when a new Batman film is released. Now, having been a fan of both of these characters my entire life, I've gotten to a point where there are so many great film adaptations out there, both animated and live action, that saying only one of them is the best feels a bit unfair to the other adaptations and the many things they did well. Besides, characters like this, especially Batman, go through many different variations in the source material. Each version works for their own different reasons, which is why I think film adaptations of these characters are at their best when they keep the essence of what makes said character interesting and loved, but finds their own way to tell a compelling story with that in mind. This is why there have been various film adaptations of characters like Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood, but none are necessarily viewed as the definitive version. Some people prefer one adaptation and some prefer another. So, rather than just picking one, I look at all of the films that have been made and gravitate towards different ones for different reasons. Take the Spider-Man films for example. I love Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse and No Way Home equally as much, but for completely different reasons. For me, Spider-Man 2 is the best overall film that is about Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse is the best at accurately translating the feel and look of a Spider-Man comic onto the screen, and No Way Home I love purely for being one big love letter to Spider-Man past and present. When it comes to Batman, however, the two adaptations I love the most and I feel sum up how to do a Batman story well are Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight and Matt Reeves' brand new film, The Batman. And don't get me wrong, I like the Tim Burton films. Some of the animated films like Mask of the Phantasm are really damn good and are arguably just as influential as films like The Dark Knight, and there are even elements to admire about the Joel Schumacher attempts. But personally, I feel as if these two films are some of the finest on-screen depictions of Batman we've had to date. So, let's briefly talk about The Dark Knight, as if I'm not the 100th person to do so on YouTube. The more time that passes, the more I admire about this film, and what Nolan was able to do in terms of making a complex crime drama with so many elements going on, and make it as cohesive as it is, and still keep the focus on it being a Batman story all at the same time. The scope of this movie is incredibly grand, yet thanks to its cinematography and characters, it feels very grounded and is probably the best example of showing what Batman would look like if he existed in the real world. Everything about The Dark Knight still holds up extremely well. Heath Ledger's iconic and at times terrifying performance is one for the ages. The score, which takes what worked from Batman Begins but doubles down on the intensity of specific parts, again also works really well and is one of Hans Zimmer's best. And then there is also the script, which keeps escalating everything from one scene to the other, making it a very unpredictable experience to watch, especially on your first couple of viewings. And then we have The Batman, Matt Reeves' epic portrayal of the Caped Crusader that comes in at pretty much 3 hours long. I've been a massive fan of Matt Reeves ever since I saw Cloverfield for the first time, and I feel that as his career has progressed, he has improved as a filmmaker with each film he has made, to the point where he can now make these absolutely massive films that feel meticulous in their craft but rewarding as a viewing experience. Now, I saw this film about a week ago and it instantly left an impact on me. This film gives us one of the darkest depictions of Batman we have ever seen on film, and I loved every second of it. For an almost 3 hour runtime, not a single thing dragged for me. Matt Reeves' direction and Greg Fraser's cinematography are both flawless in my opinion. Every shot, and to be honest, the movie as a whole, feels like it was ripped straight from one of the best Batman comics and slapped straight onto the screen. I also think Michael Giacchino's score for the Batman is perfect and is everything I would ever want for a Batman score. Don't get me wrong, I really like Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman's scores, but Giacchino's main Batman theme is exactly how I've always imagined a theme for Batman sounding. It somehow is a seamless blend of sadness and hope that encapsulates the feel of Batman in a nutshell. The performances are also great. Zoe Kravitz makes a compelling Catwoman, Paul Dano is unhinged and deranged as usual as the Riddler, Colin Farrell is completely unrecognisable as the Penguin, and Robert Pattinson works brilliantly as a tortured and reclusive version of Bruce Wayne that we've never really seen before, but also as a silent and intimidating Batman that you can tell is still trying to figure out what he needs to do as the Batman and how far he should go. The storytelling is incredibly efficient in this film, and it all leads up to a third act that I personally think is genuinely brilliant, and I don't understand the hate it's receiving. The crime thriller aspect to this film is very well realised and showcases why Batman is such a good detective. And most importantly, Gotham as a city is probably the best it's ever been in any of the films. It's dark, downtrodden and grim, and just feels like a character in itself. I think The Batman and The Dark Knight show what comic book movies are capable of doing and what a director can do with these characters when given full control, similarly to Logan in 2017 and last year's The Suicide Squad directed by James Gunn. Saying one of these films is the best feels like it doesn't do the other films justice when they're both going for slightly different approaches to the same character. It's like saying that The Killing Joke is better than The Long Halloween, or that The Court of Owls is better than The Batman Who Laughs. That's fine, but these stories are all going for different things, which is why I look at them in terms of what they do well, not what one does better than the other. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please let me know what your thoughts on The Batman are in the comments below if you have seen it. Remember to also follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd to keep up to date with everything I do. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye.